Read room.
We heard the sound. I don't know if that is. Yes, it is. Very good. We'll wait a moment for Commissioner Blanchett, who has arrived.
Yeah, ride home.
Hmm?
Yeah, ride home when you get your ride with home.
Oh, sure. I'm taking the long way, so
But by crack. Let's give him a big hand. Let's give him a big
hey, good evening, sir.
Look like you're great.
Okay, so the mics are live. Are you ready? Yep. Okay, very good. Okay, everybody ready? We're good? Commissioner Buckman, ready? Mr. Sweeney?
I'm ready.
Great, okay, very good. Good evening. Welcome to the May 21st, 2018 Town of Emmitsburg meeting. At this time, I'll ask anybody who has a cell phone to please put it on their silent mode or turn it off in respect to the decorum of the meeting. Okay. Now I'll ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, a couple announcements. We have a pool grand opening ceremony occurring on Saturday, June 2nd, 2018 at noon. And we also have our next town council meeting on June 4th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. Any other meetings?
Planning Commission meeting on May 29th.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Commissioner.
Okay, we also have the Planning Commission meeting on May 29th at 7:30 p.m. here in the town office, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay.
Commissioner.
Mr. Briggs, yes, sir. Mayor Briggs.
The pool opens this Saturday for Memorial Day at noon. And it will open at noon on Sunday and noon on Monday. Then it'll be closed until the following week, till the grand opening. So it's open this week for Memorial Day.
And it looks so good.
It does. They did a
I
good
like the
job.
ramp and how it slopes down.
Right.
Yeah.
Kudos to the staff on that. Pool looks terrific.
Terrific. Okay. Any other meeting announcements?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Ritz.
The Parks and Recreation Committee meeting that was originally scheduled on May 15th is tentatively postponed until further notice. I do not have that notice yet. The logistics of getting everything together, we've been corresponding back and forth. Once we finalize a date that a majority of members can attend, I will definitely give the town office enough notice so they could publicize that, on the website and put the sign on the door. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Commissioner Buckman, anything?
For meetings or just comments?
For meetings?
Okay. No.
Nope, okay. All right, moving forward, we now turn to commissioner comments. Commissioner Buckman.
The only comment I have is the Mother's Heaton Carnival is going on this week, and we're all excited about it. So I hope you all get to go there. Anyhow, I'm working Friday, and I'll be playing on Thursday. And also, just the pool looks perfect, but the clover is crazy, and people keep getting stung in previous years because of the clover and the bees hanging out. And there's always bee sting aid in the lifeguard kit. But I don't know if we could weed and feed if it's not too late.
They're going to take care of everything prior to the pool opening, and I believe they already sprayed at least the pavilion.
Okay.
They have a lot of catching up to do on the mowing and weeding
Yeah. Well, I
before
saw that.
Saturday.
Okay, anything else?
I don't think so.
Commissioner Ritz?
Less of a comment, more of a question, if that's permissible. I just would like to ask the question why we as a Board of Commissioners will not be given the opportunity to consider the proposal from Councilman DeLauder for the sidewalk from Mother Seton School to the Village and Host Company activities building after what was publicized in the Frederick News Post.
I can answer that very quickly.
Okay. I don't know that we don't have the opportunity, but let's hear what the mayor says.
Okay.
I'm interested as well. Mr. Mayor, yes, sir.
I can answer that very quickly. There's no such thing as a free lunch. and to get two contractors in there, one doing the undercoating and the other one doing the covering up. It was a very kind gesture on his part, but the gesture goes to County Executive Gardner for listening to my request for the money to connect that. And it's just a cleaner deal. I want to do a piggyback with the county, try one. We're working lining that up. Any savings on that will go back to the county. Just years and years of working. It's just two different contractors coming in from different ways. It was just, it wasn't right. Sorry.
Do we have a contract for under $20,000 then?
Do we have a contract for under 120?
For
No.
upfront for under $20,000?
No, we don't.
So
We will put it out for bid.
So we requested $20,000 from the county.
Right.
When
I
we-
did. I did.
Initially,
No, I did initially and finally.
but in the middle, you agreed to the
Um,
$12,000.
He was supposed to submit a proposal, and I reconsidered, and I did make a mistake on the email, but we're going to go with what we have.
I'm just throwing it out there. You know, I was a little concerned if we had an opportunity to save some money.
It sounds good.
Why didn't we pursue that, or at least given the opportunity? I saw the email string, and I did see an email from Commissioner O'Donnell as well. Kudos to him for that email.
Right.
It sounded like we were going to have that on the agenda for discussion at the June meeting. I was really hoping that we could.
I didn't see that, I don't think.
But now it's a moot point because it was all done behind the scenes, so to speak.
No, it's not done behind the scenes. I have requested another sidewalk connection. I went to the county, and they were kind enough to put it in the budget. And they did.
$20,000.
Yes.
We could have had it for 12.
Well, it's not costing us any money. Do you get that,
No,
Atish?
can I speak?
Yeah,
Well,
please.
hold on for a second. I tell you what, here's a thought, just for consideration. Mr. Ritz, Mr. Mayor, just for consideration. It's a worthwhile discussion. We're going typically through our commissioner comments, and we're now having sort of an exchange and dialogue, which is
Okay.
good and appropriate, but I would argue misplaced. Now, if we could hold off on this and get this to administrative business,
Sure.
would that be okay?
Okay.
And one other item for, just one other item for procedural purposes, and again, I'm not trying to cut anybody off at the knees. For procedural purposes, Mr. Ritz, if a commissioner is interested in seeing something as an agenda item, they are more than welcome to propose it, and I think that would be a good thing for the board to give consideration to. Do you follow what I mean?
I got you.
So if you are inclined to make this an agenda item for a future meeting, I would certainly think the board would have views on it and would either support you or not support you regarding to make this a discussion item.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's very
Okay.
reasonable. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Mayor. So we're going to end the discussion piece of it, and we'll go back to commissioner comments. We'll pick this up again at administrative business. Okay?
Fine.
Okay. So that way we kind of have everybody, with a similar opportunity for their comments at this time. Okay. Mr. Ritz, any other comments for commissioner comments?
I was just going to talk about the carnival as well, but looking forward to going there several nights this week.
Good. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Commissioner Sweeney.
I'm looking forward to the carnival too. We have a stand set up here for Community Heritage Day. We're selling raffle tickets for to go off during the carnival week, which will go off Saturday night. Also, the Sons of the American Legion is having a fishing derby, free from ages 3 to 15 years old, and it will be at Klein's Pond in the middle, in between Emmitsburg and Thurmont Cove. It's right in between. It will be Sunday, June the 3rd. The first Sunday in June, and it will start at 7 o'clock. Registrations from 7 to 9, and you fish from 9 to 11, and everything's free. Just bring your fishing pole and have a good time, and there'll be food and snacks and everything free for the kids, and plus we give trophies and all kinds of prizes out for them, and it's all sponsored by all the businesses in Emmitsburg and Thurmont both. So it's, we have a board set up with all the businesses, and we've collected enough money in the last 3 years. We haven't had to go back and ask for donations for the last 3 years because we got enough in 1 year asking that it paid for it so far for the last 3 years. So it's a wonderful day, and all the kids, it's open for all the kids for both communities, Thomasburg and Thurmont
That's
Bay.
wonderful.
So just come out and have a good time. Bring your grandkids, let them fish. It's catch and release. They'll weigh them, and then you put them back into water. So it's
Is that
really nice.
posted on Emmitsburg event?
Yeah, yes, and it's posted downstairs, and it's also on the channel for the Emmitsburg channel. I'll have to get it to the Thurmont channel yet, but I haven't got down there to give it to the Thurmont channel yet. But it's sponsored by all the businesses in both towns, and we have it every year. It's always the first Sunday in June. So come out. It's coming up 2 weeks from now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Blanchard.
Excuse me. Yes, Mr. President, a couple things. Mentioning a carnival, I just came from the carnival where there is a good food and drink to be held for the entire family. So I can attest that it's good stuff down there right now. Check it out. Trying to get more people involved in the community garden. Last week I managed to get my crops put in before we get the heavy rain for the next 6 days. But anyway, I say they're well watered now. Just need some sun. Love to see it expand. Include maybe some people from Lincoln on the Park or some people from across the street, Seton. So there isn't a lot of room to expand, but there's a few places we could maybe put a few more plots in. So anyways, I'm hoping basically with the fact that we have more traffic over there because of the dog park, maybe more people see it, more people get involved. And again, I would love to see, let's go from 8 plots maybe to 12 plots. I don't know. So anyways, for what it's worth, it's good soil. I've always had good luck every season growing some food there, and it's a lot of fun. So anyways, that's what I got.
Can I ask, do you have to bring your own water to water?
There's a, over with the pavilion, there's a water, what's the word I'm looking for here? The blue.
Like a rain barrel?
Rain barrel, yes. There's water there, but sometimes I've seen people, unfortunately, not stop it off, and so it drains out. So in really hot in July and August, I probably would recommend you bring your own water and check it out. So I'm going to keep it going.
Okay.
But right now, it's more than well-watered. It's too well-watered, actually.
And how do we get a plot? We just go there and.
You come here to the town office and you fill out the form for $20, and you clean out your plot at the end of the season, and you get $20 back. And it's at the end of October, so you can grow pumpkins and keep going all the way to I think it's October 31st. I think is the last day. You got to get all your stuff out.
Pumpkins will outgrow the box very significantly.
Oh yeah. You'll see vines going all over the place. It's all crazy for a while.
My understanding, there's still plots available.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
So just contact Miss Ray if anybody wants a garden plot.
So it'd be great.
And typically when people have vines growing, they just guide them back or reroute them
Yeah.
outbound. I mean, there have been vines typically that work their way down toward the little stream. The other piece for watering, if it's okay to add, on occasion I have seen people who bring buckets and dip and water.
Right out of the stream.
So
Yep.
I don't know if that's encouraged by MDE, but it happens. So
Tim, I have one more thing.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people have loved the clock on the square.
Oh,
Yeah, sharp.
I've
Sharp.
had a lot of good comments about it. The only thing they don't like is they think the numbers are too small when you're looking at it, and it doesn't have the right time. I said, well, they're working on the right time.
Right.
So to put it in, it operates just like one of them sign things does. The signboards, it looks exactly like that.
Right. It's
I've
very
had to do-
technical to set the time. I think staff's going to try to get it set right this week.
But everyone I've talked to
Good.
does love the clock on the square. They
But-
keep asking me where the fountain is. I said, there's no fountain going in.
I know.
up and coming generation can't read analog anyhow, so
I know.
gotta have digital.
here's their chance. It's always the right time in Emmitsburg. Okay, Mr. Blanchard?
I'm good.
Okay,
That's it.
all right. A couple quick items. I was able to visit with Ed Hind briefly yesterday during the Maryland Endurance Challenge, the fundraiser for SHIP. Very strong turnout, lots of riders. It seems like it was, again, a more successful event as it builds more people. Participating Saturday, I saw a bunch of riders in town who were I saw a handful of riders in town grocery shopping who were part of the event. So they're actually staying here, so it's a good tourism boost, more heads and beds. The community garden, yeah, definitely popular. I think it's going to be more popular this year.
so.
I think people are getting on it, I hope. The dog park is very well used. I've been over there, and we have a lot of visits from people from beyond the area coming and checking it out. Evidently, there's a dog park circuit, and People hit different dog parks on different days. It's very social. Regarding meetings, I met with the Community Heritage Day. Mr. Sweeney was there as well. Very well organized. It seems like it's going to be a great Community Heritage Day on June 30th this year. A lot of awesome events. And I met with the entrepreneurship program lead for Mount St. Mary's, Christine Adamau. She is driving a very interesting program. Seems very solid. A lot of young people from the university are involved, and one of many goals involve a number of set projects she's hoping to see occur here in town. And I gave her great encouragement to bring the program into town, and that's something that she wants to do. So they actually want to site it somewhere on Main Street or on South Seaton, perhaps, should there be space available. But what I saw was impressive, and it sounds like they have a very viable program. So my hope is that we see it relocate here into town. And that concludes my comments. So now,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What projects, just in general?
Startup business
startup
for
business
students.
or any particular areas they're looking at?
sure, they have, well, consider there are no pockets, not deep, just no pockets yet. So there's not funding for this, so everything is sort of in the idea piece, the idea stage. But what they do is they have young people pitch ideas about businesses, and as part of the program, they actually have to start a business, and they compete with one another in the same business, and for 30 days, I think this past year they ran a lemonade stand, a different one, and whomever made the most money comes back and explains how they did it and how they won the contest. For the town, again, near to my heart, I've been talking to all sorts of microbrew people, and there's interest in that over there with an entrepreneurship type program. The discussions are ongoing. There's discussions of a micro hotel, like, for example, a all-green type hotel aligned with it, and quite possibly, what was the other piece? Oh, a very nice restaurant and potentially coffee shop. So this notion of those three types of entrepreneurial efforts complement one another. So it would be an interesting thing. And the university's view is it would be another asset for the university to drive visits into town, but also drive alumni and alumnae to visit the school as well. So it seems pretty well thought out, and I'm not going to go into huge detail on it, but the type of thinking they have and the type of business modeling that they have, these activities seem viable. But it's just the universal question: how does one fund these things? And they have some models for that too. So it was a very interesting meeting, just seeing the whole process. Moving from there, I'm going to come back to my agenda. So, and my agenda has jumped ship.
May I add one item?
Yes, ma'am.
Since there's no manager's report.
Okay.
I just wanted to announce and make sure everybody's aware, there'll be street sweeping on May 24th, which is Thursday, beginning at 7 a.m. on East and West Main Street. So we will need everybody's vehicle moved by 7 a.m. on Thursday. It's in preparation of Memorial Day. Staff is working on cleaning up the town, putting up flags, trying to make it look real nice for Memorial Day. So just note, everybody needs their car off East and West Main Street by 7 a.m. on May 24th.
You guys do such a good job putting that on Facebook, and
We
we'll
try.
make sure it gets that shared. Okay.
Terrific. Okay. We have no one signed up for
Sure.
public comments, but we do have the mayor. Mr. Mayor, yes, sir.
Thank you. Just, I attended the Vigilant Hose Spring Fling on Saturday, a wonderful event. And as usual, over at their new facility. Congratulations to Mount graduating class of 2018. And on, I believe it's May 25th at Catoctin High School.
31st.
31st, Catoctin High School graduation. And thank you to Mount St. Mary's, again, for the clock. Dr. Powell, but several years ago, and I graciously accept that. Thank you.
Great, okay. All right, so we now turn to consent agenda. We have nothing there. We have two agenda items, but I think it would be appropriate at this point to interject and go to administrative business. But I turn to the commission. Can we have administrative business here? Does anybody have any issues with that, to modify the agenda for the meeting?
To discuss the,
Correct, what Mr. Ritz and the mayor were discussing earlier.
that's fine.
Does anybody have a concern? Okay, so procedurally, we have unanimity in a straw poll. Do we need a motion to that effect to modify the agenda?
Probably.
Okay,
Yes.
so is there a motion related to an administrative business?
I'll make a motion to move administrative business to
We'll be adding.
adding it to before the agenda items on the agenda.
Great, thank you. The motion's been made by Commissioner Buckman. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Very good. The motion's been seconded by Commissioner Blanchard. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0 with all commissioners present. So, at this point in time, we're adding for our administrative agenda item the discussion related to Mr. Ritz's discussion with the mayor related to
Sidewalk.
a sidewalk on Creamery Road linking the end of the sidewalk near Mother Seton School to the Vigilant Hose Company's activities building area. Mr. Ritz.
Did you want to say something? Earlier you were going to, and then,
I think, I'm trying to remember what the article said exactly, but I think he offered to dig it out, but not put it back, not put it in. He said he would, I think the article said, I was reading it and I can't remember exactly word for word, but I think he only offered to do one thing, he didn't offer to do the whole thing.
That's correct.
And I don't know what the piece was from.
Initially, the mayor had suggested we look into putting a sidewalk in from Mother Seton School to the new, or to the ambulance company. And it wasn't in our budget to do so. And the mayor and I have had many conversations about piggybacking, and actually it was the mayor's suggestion of trying to piggyback with the county as often as possible because we can get lower contracts and try to save money on these projects and still get some of the projects done. And so when the opportunity arose, I believe the mayor contacted the county about piggybacking them if they had any sidewalk work forthcoming. And it's my understanding and through emails that Mr. DeLauder offered to do a portion of it. I believe the estimate for the sidewalk was under $20,000. And so Mr. DeLauder offered to do a portion of it, that his business would chip in and pay X amount of money, and the town of Emmitsburg would then have to fund the remaining part of it. And the mayor and I had discussions, and I felt it best, and the mayor, we agreed that it's best to have it all put through the county instead of trying to piecemeal the project together. And instead of, if it went through the county put it in their budget, and then it wasn't a cost really to the town, as opposed to if Mr. DeLauder did a portion of it, and his recommendation was then to have the town pick up the remaining part. And then he did come back and say no, he would pay for a portion of it, but then the rest would have to be done through the county. In conversations that the mayor and I had, and under some guidance, it was recommended that we just stay with the county and instead of trying to piecemeal it together. And in a sense, as we are trying to wrap up our budget process, so is the county, and I think time was of the essence. And that's my understanding of how everything transpired.
I think that's what it said too. I understand not having two different sets doing it, because it tends not to get done if you do it that way, or something else happens and they didn't like the way you dug it out. So having all one person do the contract, and it doesn't cost us a thing because the county's adding it to theirs, is okay with me. But I did read the article too, and I was just, I'm glad he brought it up. I didn't remember why he offered it, but
initially the email came out to us on April 19th. So yes, time was of the essence because the county was voting, they had their budget at that point. So I did not respond at that time to Councilman DeLauder. I don't know if anyone else did other than Mr. President and Mr. Mayor, but, hindsight's 2020. I think personally, I would have felt it best if we did discuss it as a board, but we missed our opportunity at the May meeting. So, is there anything we can discuss in the future? I mean, I don't even throw it on as an agenda item next month. What is that going to get us, though? I don't know. I think we missed our window of opportunity there.
Did the county put it back on their budget? I
Yes,
wasn't
yes.
privy to that email or any other
County put
discussions.
it back on their
Okay.
budget because
I went
Mr.
down.
Mayor went to the meeting the other day and requested the 20,000 be reinstated because it was only approved by the county for 12.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So now we're back up to 20.
Okay.
Which is good.
I think, I don't know what you would want to put on the agenda, and that's obviously up to the board, but anytime that we can try to piggyback the county on contracts or any other towns, we're going to try to piggyback on their contracts. But if something is over our threshold, then obviously it does come to the board to say yay or nay on.
I guess my only concern with that piggybacking on with the county, we're at the mercy of the county, when they do their projects.
Right,
Or
and
am I
That's correct.
understanding that correctly? So
And usually it's a phone call to them to ask, do you have any sidewalk work coming up? Or do you have any contracts for concrete work or et cetera? If they don't have anything coming up, or the town of Thurmont doesn't have anything coming up, then obviously we're not going to try to piggyback with them.
okay, so
if that makes
will
sense.
will this project then be completed in July as originally anticipated,
We're trying.
To be honest
with or without county piggybacking?
Oh, we'll go with that. No, we're going to go with piggybacking. We worked through the traps on setting this up as an opening. They're paving concrete work every day. If we can get their unit
No
of
contract.
cost up here, it'll be great. And it's the first time we've done it, so let's
Yeah.
give it a try.
I mean, overall, I understand the concept. It doesn't cost us money. It's taxpayer money in general for the county.
Right.
Of what I understand that, but another part of it too, I was concerned about was the timing. If we go with the county, would that possibly be postponed as well? Just like Commissioner Sweeney said, if you piecemeal it, it could spread out the process. I feel that might potentially could spread out the process too. I mean, it'd be great to get the sidewalk in.
Yeah.
if,
That's what I
Continue the
thought.
sidewalk.
That's our 10th sidewalk connection. That's why I approached the county. Would you do this? And they put it in their budget specifically for us, the town, and for the fire department to do it.
Our,
And they went through some hoops to do that. And I'm very appreciative to County Executive Gardner for doing this, putting it in there.
I understand piggyback because our company does too. All municipalities can piggyback all through Maryland, because my company did have the Howard County contract, so we was allowed to go work in another county to help the municipality over in Boeing. I don't know, Boeing, down by White Marsh Mall, down by White Marsh, down that way. I don't know what county that is, but down that way.
North Baltimore, Hartford.
Hartford County, that's what it was. It said that the counties do piggyback. I understand, through the years, the contractors, because I was one of the contractors, our company was ones who did the piggybacking. So we went in to fix sewer lines and stuff for the municipality that was there when they had floods and stuff. So I do understand the piggybacking. It does work, and it saves a lot of money.
And that savings will go back to the county.
Yes.
Yes. So it comes in at 17.5. That balance stays with the county.
Yeah.
We don't see any of it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and regardless, yes, I'd like to see the project done. I thanking County Executive Gardner for putting it in the budget during an election year, though. I mean, I can see the perception on the other side too, someone making a generous offer to complete a sidewalk project during an election year too. So I'm not going to thank any candidate in that aspect. I just want to see our sidewalk complete, politics aside.
Right.
Well, to be honest with you, this was, of all the lists of projects we have, we were having a hard time fitting this one into our budget. So this will help it get done quicker than it probably would have been if we had to do it all on our own.
Okay.
So,
It was confusing. You know, we all got the email, and then there was an article in the Frederick News Post, and it's like, you know, what's going on? So I went right to the source and got some information, but I wanted to bring it here too. So I didn't want to be the only one. I don't know if anyone else reached out to anybody or not. So I thought I'd lay it out on the table so that we all are aware of what was going on. So thank you.
Mr. Ritz, I'll add a piece to the equation. During the last meeting, my hope was to have brought it forward to discuss. The downside was we had a stacked agenda,
Yeah, we did.
and my goal was also to see us move efficiently through the meeting.
I'm not
So-
faulting anybody.
Okay,
for
well,
that at
no,
all.
it's okay. I mean, it had been my hope to do that. At the same time, I appreciate you bringing it up, and I'll reinforce this idea. And again, you know, when times change and all of us aren't here, should these circumstances happen, please always be mindful that you can certainly drive an agenda item. You know, you can just propose it and risk it in front of the board and gain from it in front of the board, where the board will support you or the board will not support you. But it's good to do that because, you know, all hands on the rope help.
I didn't think of it the last meeting.
Okay,
too,
yeah,
so I-
yeah,
You know,
yeah, and I get it. And I honestly, as I said in my email to Commissioner DeLauder, I thought that was a gracious offer. In the back of my head, I'm thinking about former town manager, Mr. Haller, who always expressed great concerns about split projects,
Okay.
where someone might come in and offer to, you know, cut a corner. Now, at the same time, you know, it's a local business. It's certainly, you know, there's certainly local accountability, but the cards fell the way the cards fell. So that's kind of my take on it. And the higher goal, in my view, is we have enhanced walkability in our community, which is profound. I mean, that's the big piece. So that's kind of my perspective on it.
Next.
Okay. Any other questions related to this administrative business item?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right. So we now return to our regularly scheduled agenda as it is documented here. We turn to the fiscal year 2019 three-year trash services contract for consideration.
yes.
Return to staff.
Everybody should have a copy of the contract that was posted on their desk. It would be between us and, is it Republic Services? So we put the contract out to bid on April 6th of this year, and bids were due April 30th, and we received 4 total bids. We advertised the RFP on the town's website April 6th through May 1st, and it was also publicized in the Freight News Post Sunday, April 8th, and Monday, April 9th. The trash contract that we currently have expires June 30th of this year. As you'll see in the box, we, myself, Ms. Shaw, and Ms. Ray were present when the sealed bids were opened on May 1st at 9 a.m. And if you look at the chart, we broke it out by the cost for the curbside, which is basically your trash service, your yard waste dumpster, and then the bulk trash pickup that we have twice a year. And looking at the comparisons, staff recommends retaining the services of Republic Services again for another 3 years. It's the current trash company that we do have. They're rare. I have spoken to Ms. Ray, and if there are any complaints, they quickly rectify anything that may or may not have happened. I know when we initially signed it, there were some issues with missed pickups. They have since fixed that. They're always responsive to any calls or emails that Ms. Ray sends them. So it's staff recommendation to continue the service, or continue trash services with Republic Services from July 1st of 2018 for another 3 years, expiring June 30th of 2021. This basic contract that we used previously, and it has been reviewed by John Clapp and approved as written.
Okay, any questions for staff related to the contract as it's presented?
I do.
Mr. Ritz?
I'm looking at the RFP, Well, first, let me preface this. I know that our county landfill is getting full. Mr. Mayor's been reminding us in the past. My question is regarding bulk trash pickup. And I see that the bulk trash pickup is, well, Republic Services is the contractor we're looking at, correct?
Yes, the last column.
And they have the lowest amount. What would happen if the bulk trash collection dates were increased from 2 to 3 times a year?
Well,
More,
they charge.
other than filling the landfill more.
Right, they currently charge, for curbside collection of bulk, it's $1 per residential unit for each year of this contract, for 2 times a year. So, it would probably go up by
We double.
$500, $600 would increase the contract.
Okay.
It could be a service, I believe, that we could add on if needed, if need be.
I mean, that's a long time from now, but I'll just throw it out to the rest of the board right now, maybe in the future. Is that something we would even consider, or do you think 2 is enough for our community? I know people do like it. It's somewhat comical, too, when people put their stuff out the night prior.
Yes.
Some of the
You
items,
see other people go up and take it from
some of
them.
the items for
Correct.
pickup
Yeah, it's-
are picked up earlier.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre.
But
Well,
Informal, yeah.
potentially, maybe before we have the RFP go out for next year, I was just throwing that out to the rest of the board, if it's something that you would even consider, or am I just, is it a wasted effort?
no, I think it's a good idea. The community seems to really, really like those bulk trash pickups. People outside of the town really want them to, but that's not our concern. But I know a lot of people have issued concern with Christmas tree pickup.
Only at the at our site. They
Okay.
don't pick up at your
No, I know,
residence.
but that
Yeah.
can't be part of, or that's not even a consideration.
That would,
but-
right now, they currently pick up our Christmas trees for free out there. So I'm sure that would be then, if they're gonna stop at everybody's house and pick up a Christmas tree, that's gonna be
Oh, I see.
a significant added cost.
Okay.
I say significant, but it would be a lot more than what we already pay since it's free.
Yeah.
If we wanted to add a bulk trash day, I'm sure we could have a conversation with them to see, how would we go about adding a day and what would be the cost. We may even want to see if there's an interest for it. Put it out on Facebook or put it out in a newsletter. Would you be interested in having 3 bulk trash pickups?
That's a good
Because
idea.
that does add the cost to the to you, because it's
Yes.
built into your trash bill.
Yeah, I don't want to change anything right now. I'm just,
Okay.
maybe,
But
I
it
got
is
to
an
thinking,
option.
so.
I'm sure that we could have a conversation with them and see.
Or we could have a faux bulk pickup and get everyone to come in and pick up our stuff and, send it on its way.
Yeah.
It's just a thought. Okay, so with these things in mind, Mr. Rich, does that satisfy your?
Yes.
Your
it's
interest,
Just,
okay.
I was just planning ahead.
Sure, absolutely. Are there any other questions related to the contract or any other questions for staff? Mr. Sweeney, anything? No? Commissioner Buckman? Okay, Commissioner Ritz?
No, I mean, I'm happy
Okay.
with the services they provide our town.
Terrific. Staff has made a recommendation for Republic Services as our trash collector for the next 3 years. Is there a motion to accept their contract proposal?
I make a motion to accept Republic Services contract as presented.
Thank you, sir. The motion's been made by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second.
The motion's been seconded by Commissioner Ritz. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call it a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we now turn our attention to the fiscal year 2019 Town of Emmitsburg budget. Again, we turn to staff.
Yeah, so I'm going to let Mr. Tabler conduct most of the presentation. I have some backup information to go along with it as well. We prepared a PowerPoint. It's just kind of an overview of what's in your budget. And we'll start with the general fund and the revenues, and then Mr. Tabler will go through each department And I think however you want to handle it, Mr. O'Donnell, Commissioner O'Donnell, if you want to go through the whole presentation and wait for questions at the end, or if you want to do questions by department and by section,
Okay.
that's a decision.
So I'll turn to the board on that. My experience has been is if we can take questions on at each section, we can close each section and move forward. However, we also remember that sometimes one section will lead us back to a preceding section. So closing is not a permanent and in concrete word, no pun intended. Okay, the idea is to, horrible joke. The intent is to basically, if we can compartment our process, we have an efficient process. However, if anyone is adamant that we just wait till the bitter end, that would be fine. Are we okay, just department at a time?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
Is the presentation in order as to this budget,
Some.
or should
somewhat.
I just follow along with this? It says everything in it.
It would be both. We'll go through the notebook. I'll kind of walk through what was handed out to everybody. Along with that, the slideshow will emphasize certain things on certain pages, but we're going to basically just walk through the notebook that we handed out at the last meeting.
Okay.
So,
We will do our best to address all the questions. We don't have all the information in front of us, so we may have to bring answers back either via email to everyone or back to the June 4th meeting. We did not receive any questions ahead of time.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you?
All right, so everybody's okay, Commissioner Buckman? That answers your question, you're okay?
thank you.
Yep, I think.
I think I need
Too
a
dark?
little light here.
We'll leave that one on, I guess.
Yeah, that's
That's
good.
good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, first of all, good evening, Commissioners. Hope you had an opportunity to look at the proposed fiscal year 19 numbers that we handed out a couple weeks ago. Like I said, I'm going to try to walk everyone through the notebook that was passed out to you all. Again, if there's any specific questions that we may not have the answers to tonight, we'll try to get those to you as soon as possible between now and the next meeting, the June 4th meeting. And we also have a slideshow for you to go over along with the presentation. If you'll take a look at your proposed budget notebook that we handed out, first thing I want to go over is we handed out a couple of handouts tonight to supplement the notebooks that you'd received prior. Pages 16, 18, and 19, the numbers have changed slightly, so if you could replace those pages in your notebook from the last time. We also have a handout concerning the accrued leave that we'll talk about towards the end of the presentation, and we've also handed out a copy of the slideshow that matches what we'll go over tonight. So if you take your notebooks, your budget notebooks, the first page is the table of contents, and it's done in fund order. First the general fund, then the capital projects fund, then last the water and sewer funds, similar to prior years that we have. Turning to page 3 gives you a summary of all the departments in the general fund for the fiscal year 19 budget. And I'll kind of go through this slowly. Page 3 gives you all the revenue departments and all the expense departments that we have in the general fund.
As we mentioned at the previous meeting, the rate is recommended to stay at the 36 cents per $100. That's your real estate taxes. That's gonna be your blue. Is that your blue? I can't see.
That's last year, actually.
Okay.
Okay.
No, that's not your blue.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Okay.
That's part. But on page 3, the main thing to see is that the revenues across the board will increase by 5%. Last year's budget, 2018, the total was $1,743,959. This year, we anticipate that to increase to $1,832,039, with the taxes being your greatest proportion of your general fund revenue. Again, like Kathy said, we propose to keep the real estate taxes at .36 per hundred assessed. Overall, the budget and revenues will increase by little over 88,000. That's the 5%. On page 3, some of the one of the things I want to point out is that miscellaneous revenue percentage of change increased by 15%. The main thing there is the interest that we're earning on some of our accounts at the bank. The interest has been so low for these past few years. If it goes up a little bit, it makes a big percentage increase, so that's actually good news. So within the general fund, if you'll turn to page 5, this gives the breakdown of all the revenues within the general fund. You have your different categories, which I'll go back in a second. You have your taxes, your licenses and permits, your funding from the state, your funding from the county, your service charges, and your miscellaneous revenues. So if you look at page 5, under taxes, that increases from 931 up to 976,700. Couple areas of increase are the real estate taxes that we expect to receive, and also the local income taxes. Licenses and permits stay pretty much the same as last year, jumping from 34 to 36,000. State revenue, which we get notices from the different agencies that tell us how much we expect to get each year, goes from 113,903 to 120,994. Our county tax equity has increased to 422,288 over last year of 399,049.
I have a question.
Yeah, certainly, Commissioner Sweeney.
The POS income, how come we're not getting any for next year?
We just submitted, so we don't know. The mayor will be attending a meeting in June, so we will not know if we're receiving any grant funding. The timing with POS is usually off for it to be included in our budget.
Okay.
So we don't want to include it unless we know we're actually going to
Right.
get it. So it's
I-
kind
I'm
of a
just asking
bonus
why
if
it
we
was
do.
zero, yeah.
Yes.
It'd be nice. And is the $20,000 we're getting from the county for the sidewalk in that too?
No,
Okay.
because they're not actually paying us.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's correct. Alrighty, thank you.
A question for the Project Open Space Grant. What are we submitting for our proposal? What
We-
project, sorry?
We submitted 2 grants to each. Since we increased our sustainable area through Community Legacy, we applied for rehabbing the bathhouse at the pool, because now you have a brand-new pool, you're gonna have a brand-new parking lot, brand-new retaining wall. The bathhouse is in dire need of new plumbing, new stall. It just needs a complete rehab. And we are also applying for a grant to make an all-accessible playground adjacent to the current park, or the existing playground equipment in Community Park.
Okay, terrific.
And so we because they're both high-dollar projects, we submitted them to both.
Great, thank you.
So it's an additional playground?
It's right next to it.
Oh, okay. I thought we
To
were
be
just
able
gonna-
to, we're still working on whether or not we can adjoin them, because way POS sets up, the life of a project is 20 years. So if the playground that's currently there was installed 20 years or earlier, we can't get POS funding to attach it together and put the flooring down.
Okay.
If it's more than 20, we're good to go. If it's less than 20, it's kind of got to be right next to it, and we won't be able to put the carpet down.
Remind me again when it comes time for that, the Catoctin Civitan Club is very interested in, in helping with that, or even to obtain grant money.
Yes, I think, Mr. Mayor, did you already talk to somebody?
I talked to somebody from the county about the Civitan.
Oh, okay.
Civitan, and the town of Thurmont,
Right.
excuse me.
And luckily, I'm now working with the woman who runs and she's touched base with me when I was walking through Frederick High School, and she's very interested in still doing that. So,
Any funding that we can get, because it is, it's a wonderful project. If you saw, we did post it on Facebook to get feedback, and it was very well received, but is it a very expensive project? So as much funding that we can find from all the different sources, we will be better off on making it successful.
I'll send you Miss Malone's contact information.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Good.
Again, the county tax equity increases from last year of $399,049 to $422,288. In the service charge area, last year's budget was $223,000. This year, that's slightly up to $226,700. Again, we see increases in the pool admissions and the pool memberships because it'll be a full season of the pool being opening for a full fiscal year instead of just half a fiscal year. Under miscellaneous revenues, that increases from $43,007 to the proposed budget of $49,357. Again, one of the line items within miscellaneous revenues is the interest, which increases a good bit from $6,000 to $15,000 over the entire year. So,
I have a question.
yeah.
Line item 4502, is that 02? Rents and concessions, it went down almost half.
For 140 South Seaton?
Yeah, 140.
In light of some of the current issues that we have had at 140 South Seaton, and some issues that we continue to have, there's been discussions of possibly not renting it out at the end of the fiscal year, or at the at the end of their current lease.
Was that the lead paint stuff?
The lead paint, and it's a very old building. It does need a lot of work. So had been discussions. So what we decided to do was just build in half a year's rent. If we continue to rent it, then it's just a bonus. If we decide to opt out from it, then we're right on with the budget.
Okay.
No decision's been made. It's just something that we've been thinking about.
I was just wondering why it was
Yes.
half on. Thank you.
Question about the, again, same area, 4502 Crep, Scott Road Farm. The rent increases there. Is that, that strikes me?
It's made up of two items. One was a very small item.
Okay.
The 1532, there's a second portion to that. And I'd have to get the breakdown of that.
Sure, okay. The other item is, in the past, the board had voted to assign those rent funds to the roof of the now non-existent barn. Do we now know where those funds are being assigned?
I was not even aware of that designation.
Okay,
So
all
what
right.
happens basically is with it being in the general fund, it gets, that money that's left over gets moved to a project in Fund 2. And I don't believe there's even a designation for the roof in Fund 2 for Scott Road Farm.
Okay. And the question I'll always ask is...
Barn's no longer there.
Right, right. How soon till the contract expires? I'll ask that again, and I
You
know
asked
that'll
me
come up.
last year.
I
and
ask every
there's
year.
only 1 year left. I don't know.
Sure, okay.
I thought it was 2026, but I will look and I
Sure,
will email
okay.
you because I do not remember.
Maybe we can put that funding toward removing that contract. I don't know. Okay, thank you.
So overall, for the general fund revenue, we have a total of $1,832,039. In most cases, we try to be conservative as far as the amount that will be coming into the town. If we do have notice, certainly that's the number we try to use in the budget. So. One of the things we wanted to point out on the slide is just the history of the real estate tax revenue. This year, it's going up slightly, but that kind of gives you a historical view of where things have been over the last 8 or 9 years as far as the town. And anytime that that goes up, that helps with the funding of the town. So. So now we can go, we'll just start going through. Does anybody have any questions on the general fund revenues at this point? We can always take questions later on if you think of something.
Not revenues.
Moving on to page 8. Oh, yeah. Okay. And here's another slide that shows the general fund revenue over the past 8 or 9 years. Kind of a up and fairly stable amount that's come into the town. So.
Mr. Sweeney, do you have a question, sir?
Yes, page 8. Are we past page 8, or we're still on page
No,
8?
we're still there. We're good.
Okay, I have 3. I was wondering, line item 5307. It's went up $1,500. I mean, I'm just looking at the differences when they go up.
Yeah, can
Why they had one up?
we let Mr. Tabler go through the whole Department 10, and then we'll go, because he might answer your question. 'Cause
Okay,
we
that's
do have
fine.
some slides on each individual department,
Okay,
and then if he doesn't answer your questions, I might be able to.
alrighty.
Okay.
On the slides, the overall expenses for the general fund, the $1,743,959 matches the revenues that will be that are budgeted to come into the town. We'll just we'll go through each of the departments individually in the general fund. In Department 10 on page 8, on each of the departments, the first few line items are the salary and wages, which, as you look at each of those in each of the departments, we'll talk about the salary and wages as a whole across all departments. There's going to be some departments that go up, some that will go down, based on where we anticipate people allocating their timesheets for the coming year. So, but we'll discuss it towards the end in overall what the numbers are across the board for each of the departments. Department 10, Legislative and Executive, we have budgeted $137,875 over the $119,792 that we had in the prior budget year. Probably the one thing that stands out in Department 10 is the line item 6901, special events and program costs. Last year, we had a budget of $8,000. This year, the budget is $22,800. I think that has to do with the boys and
Yeah, and I can answer those questions. What makes up that line item, your 22,800? There's 2 items that were essentially make up the big difference in there. One of them is we currently fund the after-school program, and we currently spend about $12,000 in that program. And about mid-year last year, we got notice that one of the senior people that's been with the program for 15 plus years was looking to retire and was not sure she'd come back for another year. Prior to that, the mayor and I believe Commissioner Buckman as well have had discussions with Boys and Girls Club, and there's been a big push to bring the Boys and Girls Club to Emmitsburg. So with that happening, the Boys and Girls Club is in the process of obtaining a grant to bring the program to the town. Part of that grant requires, or part of that program coming to the town of Emmitsburg would have to fund about $10,000 of the Boys and Girls Club. We already spend about $12,000 for the after-school program, so it kind of was an even match. The after-school program was mostly funded through salaries in Department 60. So this essentially has just been moved to Department 10 to fund Boys and Girls Club. I will have one caveat: we do not find out about the Boys and Girls Club till the end of May to mid-June. If for some reason that program is not picked up and not going to come to Emmitsburg, I would like to come back to the board to ask for the funding be reinstated for the after-school program. That's contingent on Miss Irma still wanting to, if she wants to come back or not. So, That's the $10,000 there, and then also in there is what's called a shred day for $3,100. The town would like to sponsor a paper and electronic recycling day. I believe the town of Thurmont and some other municipalities have also hosted one, and they've been very successful. It's a way to continue with the green movement, keep our electronics out of the landfill. So between the Boys and Girls Club and the Shred Day, that's about your $13,000 increase from last year to this year.
So overall, the Department 10 does have about a 15% increase. It's one of our ones that does increase. Is there any questions on Department 10 or any of the line items?
Just one more.
Yeah.
We're doing some extra. Education has went up almost or at least $3,000.
Right, so the large portion of the education and conferences is my understanding for next year's summer conference. I believe there will be 6 people attending the summer conference. I know several of the commissioners were unable to attend this year that will be attending next year. In years past, we haven't budgeted for that, and we've been over. So what we did was we aimed high, and we're budgeting for 6 people to attend the summer conference. So that's essentially the added cost there, as well as I would like to send our new town clerk to a grant writing program it's in Washington, D.C. It's an excellent program. I went to it when I was first hired.
Thank you.
And if you drop down and see travel and expense, that's also with 6 people attending the summer conference. We aimed high if all 6 people go.
Thank you.
Moving on to Department 12, Planning and Zoning, if you'll turn to the next page. Last year's total budget for Planning and Zoning was $130,702. This year, it's $144,611. One of the items that, so that's actually an 11% increase in that category. One of the things I noted was the contractual, which went from $1,480 to $6,400.
And I have that.
Yeah.
That is related to, as if you all recall, the MS4 permitting that is being required by the state and the new reduction of impervious surfaces. Several towns, municipalities have hired an outside engineer because it is extremely technical, and they are in the need of engineering services because there are certain things that the town's going to have to do to come into compliance. So we added $5,000 to contractual for those engineering costs. And the other item that caused planning and zoning to have the significant increase, as you know, Ms. Sipperly is retiring, and we are aiming for a 1-month overlap with the new planner. So you have to budget essentially 2 salaries and 2 health insurances and pensions, et cetera, for 1 month. So that basically makes up your increase in planning and zoning.
Any questions for Department 12?
No, you answered both of them.
Okay.
Okay, I think.
See, I know exactly what you're thinking, right? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got. Flip your page.
10.
No, I got 10. I don't have a 13.
No.
All right, go ahead.
Turning to page 10, Department 13, Financial. This department actually went down slightly, $46. So last year's budget was $169,583. This year's budget's going to be $169,537. One of the line items I want to point out is the line item 5502, accounting auditing fees. We have a lower budget this coming year. With the transition last year of our auditing firms, we weren't quite sure where they would come in as far as their bid to continue service with us in the new firm. So we're very happy that that had come in lower. So that's their adjustment that you see there. So that's part of the reason why it basically stabilizes for the coming fiscal year as far as the budget. Any
Just reading.
specific line item questions on Department 13?
Yeah, 5401,
Education workshops?
education, I don't, one thing on this, I don't like education being cut.
That's good.
Any, if you, because I think education, anything it helps, if you go to workshops and stuff, really helps out for grant writing and all that stuff.
Yeah, so, for that, I looked historically of what, we didn't come close to using the 2,000 that was
Okay.
budgeted in the previous year. So I looked historically, in 2017, we had 1,600, in 2016, we had 1,400. So we averaged that to 1,600. Obviously, if somebody needs training, we're going to send them.
Certainly.
And they've certainly been good at going to classes and taking online classes. I agree with you, we gotta keep our staff trained.
Yeah.
And many of these departments, there's one or two employees altogether. So it's if they're not available, they go to additional class. If they go to one class instead of two class over a given fiscal year, then it's cut considerably.
Right.
Just being one or two employees in that particular department.
I just didn't want, if, you know, if, to keep it in there, helps out, you don't have to worry about
Right.
sending it in there.
We have a PowerPoint for 15.
15, yeah, we do. Okay.
And your, accounting went way down?
Yeah, the accounting and auditing, sir, that's from the, for the most part, that's directly from the yearly audit that the Loan and Stang do now for
Oh,
us.
okay.
So, so that pretty much, you know, going to carry from one year to the other with basically the same numbers.
Okay.
So, moving on to Department 15 buildings. Last year's budget was $124,377. This year's proposed budget is $126,176. So it's went up slightly. There's a couple of line items we'd like to emphasize. The first of which is repairs and maintenance, and I'll let Ms. Willits go through some of the line items and buildings.
Right, so, as you know, Mr. Fissel is, Steve Fissel is in charge of our repairs and maintenance for all our buildings. So one of the tasks that I gave him this year is to get me preventative maintenance plan for all our buildings, so we can be reactive, or proactive, not reactive. And so based off of his recommendations, for repairs and maintenance, these are what he has recommended that we need to do to take care of our current buildings. And as you can see, the biggest one is this building here. Yes, we are required to do a lot of the repairs and maintenance per the lease that we have with the county. 2,500 for 22 East Main Street, 500 for the garage, 4,000 for Christ Community Church, 2,800 for 140 South Seaton, 500 in contingency, and 1,000 for general. These are your basic repairs and maintenance for things that, you know, we think we're gonna need. There are some items, larger items that you'll see later in the presentation that are listed as capital projects or in Fund 2, larger items. So this is your basic repairs and maintenance for our current buildings, excluding any buildings related to water and sewer, because that falls under that fund.
Is there any questions concerning Department 15 that you may have?
One question. Looking at the 5522, are we expecting the price of electricity to increase? We added 550 there, just curiously. Or am I looking?
Your electric.
Sorry.
Right. It's,
5522.
which is going from 2,000 to 1,800. Well, that's just,
Nope.
No, electric,
Up.
one line up.
One up?
Yep.
sorry.
Nope,
It went
that's
from
right.
6,100 to 6,650, and a lot of that's based off of allocations, with, between the solar and our electric bills. So, I mean, Nicole can explain a little better
And
than I can.
that's another line item at the very end we'll look at all together.
Okay,
As far
that's-
as in total, you'll see that some of the some of the line items are higher.
Right.
But we'll take a look at them all together.
The collective, okay, great.
What we've done is the last couple years, we're starting to build a history on each of the individual departments' accounts. So hopefully we'll have a more of an accurate look and projection of where the expense would be.
Right.
So we'll definitely look at that towards the end also.
And something that Mr. Tabler and I have discussed, we like to budget high instead of not having enough to cover it. So some of these items may be increased based off of estimates and allocations that we have, but we would prefer to aim high instead of aim low.
Terrific. Okay, thank you.
And moving on to Department 20, Public Safety Police on page 12. The budget for last year was 272,041. This year's budget proposed is 280,603. The main item here is the law enforcement contract we have with Frederick County, and we do get notice of what that should be each fiscal year. So there's a slight increase in that department. Department 21, sorry.
You want me to do it?
No. Got it. Okay. So we have a slide that shows the safety contractual for police over the past 9 years, and you can see where it's at for this year. It's a 3.15 increase from the prior year that we're proposing, which we get notice from the county also for that.
Right, which was in the contract that you approved the last meeting. Basically, it was a salary increase, and the cost of fuel is rising again, and that caused the increase in their contract.
Department 21, Public Safety and Fire and Rescue. We make a donation each year to the Vigilant Hose for that amount, and that's consistent the past several budgets that we've had. Department 22, Other Public Safety, that stays the same also at 6,670. That's the, I guess, the public warning system
Yes.
that we have, that we renew each year.
Just to jump in, and I'll bring this to the board, and imagine Department 21, were we funding a local fire company, the expense we would encounter. How fortunate we are to have the Vigilant Hose Company. I mean, you know,
We have the best.
it would match our budget as a town, so how lucky are we?
Yes.
Are there any questions on any of the departments on page 12? Pretty straightforward. Moving on to page 13, Department 30, Public Works Streets. Last year's budget was 363,342. This year's proposed budget is 382,407. In streets, we have some line items we'd like to highlight. First is contractual. Go ahead.
Contractual, we still continued, last year we did, for snow removal in contractual, we added 15,000. Fortunately, this year we used about half. We didn't have that, bad of a winter. Never knowing what's gonna happen, we'd like to keep the 15,000 in for this coming winter. Cause historically, we've seen basically peaks and valleys when it comes to snow removal. Unfortunately, you never know when you're gonna get hit, and if we get hit hard, I don't think we're gonna have put enough money in the budget regardless. So we'd like to keep it at the 15,000. The 400 of that is, for HR. HR is spread across the board. Why can't I find this? HR is spread across the board. And then we have a base of 7,000, and that's typically for anything that we would, use a contractor for, sometimes to assist with, flagging or, striping of some particular areas. If it's a large striping project, it comes out of Fund 2. The basic contracting stuff that we do use for our streets, that's our base, for that as well. Some of that is also the IT, contract that we have that is allocated across the board. What else is in there, do you know?
With human relations,
Yeah, I did mention
human
that.
resources.
Yeah, so those are basically what makes up,
Yeah, it's there.
contractual. And you can see it's about the same as it was last year. Department, or for other expenses, see that it went up by 1,200. We did add, $100 of that is for, your parking enforcement. 500 is just for general expenses. $600 is for safety, your vests, your flashlights, your warning lights, things of that nature. Myself and Mr. Click are very big on safety and making sure the guys have everything that they need, their helmets. And then $2,500 we added for our storm drain inlets. As part of the MS4 and stormwater management, we need to upgrade some of our, repair some of our storm drains. So we added $2,500 to take care of that as well. Operating supplies, you'll see it's about a $650 increase. We did add to the operating supplies. We spend $800 on parking tickets, $400 on equipment, $2,000 on anti-skid, $1,000 on tools, $1,000 on cold mix, $1,000 on signs, $1,000 on paint. We added, this year, we added $1,000 for sand and stone. It's for backfilling. Sometimes when we have to tear up concrete and make it backfill, or anything that needs backfilled, and $700 for general. So that makes up your operating supplies under streets. Repairs and maintenance, it decreased, this line item decreased by $600. We have $700 in parking meter repair, $500 in sidewalks, $400 in contingency, and $500 in general.
So across the board, the Department 30 has increased. Is there any specific line item questions you might have?
Communications, 5304.
Yeah.
It's a significant increase
Right.
there.
So for communications, one of the requests that I had from our Public Works Superintendent, we currently do not have radios in any of our Public Works vehicles. We only have the handhelds. And there are some areas in this town that the handhelds don't have very good service. And so we can't get a hold of our, if they're out somewhere, you can't get a hold of them. If they're in their vehicles, the radio's right there. The mobile radios are hard to hear at times. So for streets, that was an added $3,500 for radios to have them installed in the vehicles. Basically more for a safety issue than anything else. Communications, so that's 3,500, 800 base, and then 2,900 base. So your $800 is your parking enforcement, is the base for communications, which is voice services and cell phones, and the same thing with the 2,900 base for Public Works.
Any other questions?
How about line number 50, the salaries went up by $10,000?
That's, again, part of that, and we'll go over salaries at the end. Part
Okay.
of that's an allocation change. Part of it is the step and the proposed 2% COLA. But a lot of the salary change you'll see is allocation, where they're spending their time. A lot of time was spent in streets this year, particularly because of the Square project.
I have a question for future budget. Since we are blacktopping the parking lot at the pool and putting spaces in, it would be nice to make that a municipal parking with meters for the town at one time in the future. I don't know if we can get an estimate on how much it will cost to meter the parking spaces there and that for the after the pool closes, and meter mainly in the winter time, but not give any tickets out during the pool while it's open from 12 to 8 or whatever it is. But it's a good way to make some money for the town. We do need a municipal parking lot.
Amen.
Staff can certainly look into that in the future, yeah.
Mr. Sweeney, this past year at MML, I looked at the parking systems where you have the ticket you put on your dashboard. So you reduce the cash use, which reduces staff time to a point. And one of those devices, one was $15,000, others were $30,000. Now, the problem is, with that lot, that works pretty well, I mean, because it's centralized. But on Main Street, it was how far apart do you want them? And they have a formula how far people are willing to walk to go to
Right.
get their ticket. Now, my hope is those machines have come down in cost,
In the future?
but I'm not going to MML this summer, so I don't know. But I'd like to see us get rid of the meters on Main Street and move toward that ticket tab system.
The meters give it a little
I love the
charm.
meters.
I
Well,
like the meters here, but I think it
there,
gets a
there,
charm.
there are two reasons. One for, property damage. The other is for ADA accessibility. Like, if you need to swing a door wide, it makes it harder to get out of your car if you have mobility issues. So just sort of a thought on that one. But,
That's
for
just
what
a
it's
thought
worth.
for the future. I mean,
yeah, sure, absolutely. I like the idea. I think it's a great idea. We do need more municipal parking. Sorry.
Okay, moving on to Department 31 Refuge on the next page, on page 14. The proposed budget this year is very similar to the one we have currently. Just a slight increase to 133,400. Some slight changes in the contractual amounts, based on our trash service which is the bulk of that department.
We did put in, this budget was on the premise that the board would approve the Republic Services contract. So this would be the actual budget for the refuse contract, or for the fiscal year.
If we're having a trash service, why do we, I took business management classes, and overtime is something you want to avoid. Why would this land in even this?
Because we're paying overtime for staff to be there twice a month for the yard waste. That's where the overtime comes from.
Any
Does
other?
that make, I'm sorry,
Okay.
is that,
Yeah, that's,
okay.
makes sense.
That's what I'm talking-
Are you concerned about the added expense, or?
No, it's just that I always say you avoid overtime,
Right, sure.
because that's more than just an hour. It's an hour and a half
Right.
pay.
But they come in Saturdays from 9 to 12. It's something that's always been paid. However, it wasn't always put onto the budget until recently. We felt that, Mr. Tabler and I felt that it was best to be transparent, so we started showing that overtime in the budget preparations.
Do a lot of people show up on those?
Quite a few, actually. I can speak from the
They
person
do?
from dropping off clippings, lawn clippings, trees, etc.
Because we don't post on Facebook, oh, it's coming up this weekend, so I don't know if people know about
You
it.
look at the bin; it's filled.
Yeah.
It's tons of people dropping stuff off.
It's always the same time recycle
Yeah.
is. I mean, the blue